let's talk about Wild Northwest. It's the ninth Vride album, as you mentioned, and it came out at the end of April through Season of Mist Records. Tell me a little bit about the writing process for this album.
It was a bit different because when I started writing as normally for album, but quite early on I decided I wanted to make it more of a concept story where the songs were connected. And then when we came to last May or June, I talked with our video producer Hváll, who's done some videos for us before, and asked him if we could do something completely different this time, just make a movie alongside the album and make a music video for each song and connect it to a concept story. And that kind of changed the way I write the album, because some of the ideas that I had, when I started writing the story or plot for a movie, it changed how I wanted things musically. And as this process progressed and I could started to see the first rough things that were done with the video, I felt like some of the music didn't quite work out anymore, so I had to add things or take things away. So it became a process of working in a complete different way, because you got all of a sudden a visual aspect, and that started kind of to, inspire me or determine how I wanted to go in a different direction to get a different atmosphere for a theme or something like that. So all in all, I have to say it was quite different from anything we've done before.
So did you have ideas for the videos before you had ideas for the music, or were they coming to you around the same time?
It was a bit of both, because I had ideas for videos and the concept, even though all of the music wasn't ready, but some of the music was ready. So I pretty early on, I had the story in my head how I wanted it to be, but it's kind of changed alongside the whole process. And very often I have this kind of, how to say, a vision or something like that when I start with an album, and same with the movie, but of course you can't just stuck to that, because then you're going to limit yourself and then it's going to just get stale and boring. So I always like to kind of let the process bring in new elements and turn it around, turn everything upside down if you need it. So I like to kind of have this start out with a kind of vision, but also let there be a process where you can, open your own thoughts a bit more and kind of do something that you hadn't.
Now, is this the first concept album for Vride?
Yes, I have to say so, because, or with I Krig and Milorg albums, they were kind of both themed around the Second World War and the resistance in Norway during that period. So it was kind of concept album, but more like I would say they were more theme-based than a concept album. This time it's a conceptual story that we're following from start to beginning.
Tell me a little bit about the story, and tell me about the character who appears in the videos and who the concept is built around.
It's a fictional character, but I was kind of very much inspired by when I saw this young war sailors, a documentary about them when they went out during the Second World War, and kind of when you leave your home, you're young, you're kind of filled with hopes for your lives, and you think it's adventurous to go out in the big world. And then you go out and have this dramatic events that kind of have such a strong impact on your life, and how much this can traumatize a person just over a small period. And I kind of then followed up to see a lot of these people when they came back to Norway. They were put into this, strange places and abandoned asylums, and out in the hillsides and everywhere, and kind of just to see how easily such a youthful and dreamy life can be crushed into something really brutal. That story inspired me a lot, and based on that, I kind of started to write my own little story, inspired by their events and what happened. So it is. Following this character is very much inspired by historical events, but it is a fictional story. So that's kind of the background for where we started off and where we're heading off with this whole idea.
Now I'm curious, what inspired you, or what drove you to do something like this that you haven't done before, to create a character and to write a story or write a whole album around him?
It's kind of to find new angles to work, I think, because I've written a lot of things that's kind of more like, strictly historical. I've done things where it's kind of just lyrics, my thoughts on things and my approach, but kind of to just set yourself into the mind of one specific character and, add different characters. So you kind of go into this, you create your own little universe. And for me, it was something I haven't done before, but when you find these little, other ways to work or kind of tweaks, it's my experience that triggers your creativity and it kind of challenges the way you work, because if you do the same over and over again, it gets repetitive, it gets not that inspiring, and so also the results maybe gets a bit more boring. So I kind of like to dive into something and don't really have a safety net around you. And here I found a new way of working that I haven't done before, and for me that made the whole process quite easy, because then you're filled with curiosity and want to do something else.
Now, is that important for you when you approach Vride's music to come up with new angles or new areas to explore?
Yes, I think I would go as far as say it's completely essential, because it makes me want to create. And in order to do something, I need to feel this kind of urge, this kind of excitement to doing it. If I'm just writing something, it's just another album, I hope people like it or whatever. It's like, I can't work like that. I have to find a factor that drives me, something that kind of makes it scary, spooky in some ways, when you're a bit stressed and everything around that triggers creativity for me. So when I kind of try to kind of just go back and do something like I did before, it just feels like it doesn't feel inspiring. And I think writing music or lyrics or, making art is all about being inspired.
Do you like working outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I have to say so. You need some kind of comfort zone, of course. I'm lucky enough to have my own studio and my own place to work in, so I have some routines. But bringing in new gear, doing different stuff, as I said, finding the new angles, that's, I love that. And it's the same thing with touring, Of course, I love to play some of the great places that we play over and over again, but whenever I get into a new venue, a city I've never been in before, that's kind of, it's, that makes me more inspired, I have to admit, than when you do the same thing over and over again.
Now, what does the title Wild Northwest, what is it in reference to?
It's in reference to where we come from, our area, in the one sense, and also it's kind of a fun thing, kind of poking to the more traditional Western movies, Western lyrics, the aesthetics, all that, which kind of, when I came without, it was such an, easy title. It comes, just rolls off your tongue. It becomes, and I like, very often I think titles become so complex that, I understand that myself, because I've done that myself. You try to find such words or sentence that really captures it all, and it gets so introverted that it doesn't really make sense anymore. So I love titles that, kind of sounds a bit easy and a bit funny and, maybe a bit stupid sometimes, but still can have some content. And so it was something I was working on a text line, and then you came up with that in text line. It was like immediately, this is going to be the title.
Let's talk about the videos created for this album. From what I understand, there's a whole movie split into 8 chapters as per the 8 songs on the album. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Tell me about how you work through the concepts for the videos with the director.
I kind of made even before I got the lyrics, I just made a little short documentary for each song. What's it about and how I saw it. How can we make this become a movie? And of course, then it was good to have something that actually can make a movie with you, because he can immediately come and say, I like your idea here, but it's completely impossible to do this. Or the other way around, adding, I hear what you're saying here, but we can do this and then we can make it more exciting. So I kind of made this short stories how I wanted to be. Then I gave him the lyrics, then I got the music. So he could, kind of go in and tell me professionally, how can we do this and what's possible? And based on that, we used a lot of improvisation when we first started, because we followed the idea. But it was just us. It was, me and the producer basically, and the other actors and the ones joining in. So it was like we were kind of that made it small budget. It made it, limited, but also quite easy to adapt if we got new ideas or found new atmosphere of how we wanted to do it.
Would you mind saying the name of the director again?
The director is Hváll.
And you've worked with Hváll before, right? Like he's worked with Vreid, videos for Vride before?
Yeah, he's done some. We started just like right before the Life Hunger album, and he did some photo sessions, and then did some lyric videos, and then in the last summer when we did this big streaming concert, we did a streaming concert in the mountainside of Norway. He did that, and then I really understood that he's completely like a fifth member. He knows wherever you want to go, and it was just find that when you have this connection with someone, you can do that. I don't think I would have dared to do this project if I haven't found anyone I can trust like him.
When did you shoot this?
We started in September, the first shootings, and we wrapped it up in January.
Were you affected at all by what was going on in the world around you, meaning the pandemic and COVID restrictions or anything like that?
Yeah, there were some, of course, and there was restriction with traveling and stuff like that. But even though so much of this is filmed at isolated places, we went to an old abandoned asylum. A lot of it is done outside. So, kind of when we first got out there, it wasn't really a big problem for us to do this. But it was more just a kind of logistic of bringing people in and out. But luckily for us in that period, Norway wasn't really hit that hard. So it wasn't such a big challenge with the pandemic, actually.
Your record label Season of Mist did a live stream of the full movie. And I believe right now there are 2 videos that people can watch online. Is that correct? Yeah,
currently it is. And also actually we are now releasing it on an online platform, Vimeo. So there you can go in and you can buy the full movie if you want with some bonus material, or you can rent it if you just want to see it for a couple of days. So we're making it available for everyone now to get access to it. And it's also been it's been out on DVD. So a lot of the vinyl versions have had a DVD of the movie and stuff like that. So now we did a free online streaming first and brought it out so people could see it, and now we also made it available for online purchase and through DVD and in the vinyl packages.